Welcome to Build with Grace, the podcast for faith-driven entrepreneurs who want to build a business, pursue their passion, and stay aligned with what matters most. I'm Alani Jen Kiminales, founder of Scale Up BA, and here we talk about faith, family, business, purpose, and building without burnout. If you are ready to grow without losing yourself, you are in the right place. There was a time my husband and I started our family with only 3 pieces of bread, and I truly thought we would not make it. And I do not say that for drama. I say that because it was real. There was a season in our life where survival was not a metaphor. It was our reality. Welcome back to Build with Grace. I'm Alani Jean Kiminales, and in this episode, I want to share my story. Not the polished version, not the highlight reel, but the real journey. The hard parts, the painful parts, the parts that made no sense at a time. Because I know I'm not the only one who has ever looked at her life and wondered, God, how are we going to make it through this? My husband and I started our family in a very uncertain season. I had an unplanned pregnancy. We were both college undergrads, and if you know anything about life here in the Philippines, you know that being a college undergraduate makes it really hard to find decent jobs. We were young. We were unprepared. We were trying to build a family while still figuring out life ourselves. I remember those early days so clearly. The pressure, the fear, the questions we could not answer. And yet, even there, the Lord was already writing a story we could not yet see. The Lord provided an opportunity, and I became an ESL teacher, and my husband got a job somewhere in Manila. I stayed there for 7 years, and truly, I was grateful. And I was thankful to have work, thankful to earn, thankful to help provide for her growing family. But if I'm being honest, every day I would drag my feet going to school. That is a hard thing to admit, especially because growing up, teaching was my dream. I thought that was what I was meant to do. I thought once I got there, I would feel fulfilled. But I was not happy. And I think that is something many people experience but do not always say out loud. Sometimes, the thing you thought was your dream turns out to be just one part of the journey, not the final destination. Still, God used that season. Even in a job I did not love, He was building something in me. He was shaping my discipline. He was teaching me how to communicate. He was strengthening my English. At the time, I did not realize how important that would be later. Then I gave birth to my youngest, and not long after that, the pandemic came. The school where I was teaching had to close down. At first, I thought we would be okay. Years before the pandemic, we had already started doing online selling and lending money. So in my mind, I thought, we will survive this. We have something else to lean on. And in the first few months, things were really okay. But then, sales started to slow down, and people started to stop paying their loans. And little by little, the reality started catching up with us. Later, realized we were drowning in debt. That season was one of the hardest of our lives. We had to let go of so many things. There came a point when our weekly budget was only 1,000 pesos. 1,000 pesos for a family of 5 with 3 kids. And when I tell you that season humbled us, I mean it. It stripped away every illusion of control. It brought us face to face with our limitations. It exposed our fear, every insecurity, every place where we were still trying to carry life in our own strength. That season changed me. It is one thing to hear stories about struggle. It is another thing to live it. To look at your children and wonder how you are going to provide. To smile on the outside while quietly carrying fear on the inside. To pray not for luxury, but for enough. Enough food, enough peace, enough strength to get through one more day. There were moments I felt ashamed, moments I questioned myself, moments I wondered if we had failed. But looking back now, I can see that even in the valley, God never left us. He was with us in the uncertainty. He was with us in the lack. He was with us in the nights when I did not know what to do next. One thing I've learned is this: God wastes nothing. Not the painful seasons, not the jobs you did not enjoy, not the years that felt hidden, not even the mistakes and the detours. Because while I was teaching ESL for 7 years, even though I did not love it, God was giving me a skill I would need one day. He was helping me speak English fluently. At a time, I did not know that skill would later open doors for me online. I did not know it would become part of the very foundation of the work I do now. But God knew. And that gives me so much peace now. Because it reminds me that even when I do not understand a season, He is still preparing me through it. Eventually, God opened another door. That door was the VA world. And stepping into that space was not easy either. There were so many things to learn, so many moments of doubt, so many days of stretching and figuring things out as I went. There were seasons where I only got 3 hours of sleep, seasons where I got sick, seasons where I missed important events because I was trying to hold everything together. But even then, I kept going. Not because I was strong, not because I had it all figured out, but because the Lord kept sustaining me. Little by little, what started as a survival became something more. A skill became a service became a business, and a business became a vision. And that vision became Scale Up VAs. Scale Up VAs was not built just because I wanted to make money. It was built out of lived experience. I know what it feels like to be overwhelmed. I know what it feels like to carry too much. I know what it feels like to want to grow but feel like you're drowning while doing it. That is why I care so deeply about helping business owners grow without burning out. Because I have lived the cost of survival mode, I do not want people to stay stuck there if support systems and wise stewardship can help them build differently. What I do now is not random. It is rooted in pain, it is rooted in purpose, and it is rooted in the faithfulness of God. When I look back now, I do not see just a struggle. I see provision. I see the hand of God in places I missed before. I see how He used even the seasons I disliked. I see how He took skills from one chapter and used them in another. I see how He carried us when we thought we would not make it. And I think that is why this story matters. Because maybe you are in a chapter right now that does not make sense. Maybe you are doing work you do not love. Maybe you are in a season of lack. Maybe you feel behind. Maybe you are wondering if any of this is leading anywhere. I want to remind you that God still works there. He still builds there. He still prepares there. He still provides there. The chapter you want to rush through may be the very chapter that equips you for your calling. One verse that means so much to me in light of this story is Romans 8:28. And we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good, for those who are called according to his purpose. Not some things, not only the beautiful parts, all things. The lack, the waiting, the wrong turns, the exhausting seasons, the job that did not feel fulfilling, the prayers that were prayed through tears. God can use all of it. And in my life, He has. So if you're listening to this and you are in a hard season, I want to leave you with this. Do not despise your story. Do not despise your past. Do not despise the season that feels small, painful, or hidden. God may be building something in you that you will one day use to serve people, bless your family, and walk out your calling. I did not know that the woman crying over 1,000 pesos a week would one day build a business. I did not know that the ESL teacher dragging her feet to work would one day use that same training to serve clients from around the world. I did not know that survival would one day turn into stewardship. But God knew, and He knows for you too. Thank you for listening to this episode of Built with Grace. If this episode encouraged you, share it with someone who is in a season that feels heavy or uncertain. And if you are at that season right now, and if you are that person right now, I hope this reminds you that your story is not over. God is still writing. Until next time, remember this. You can build something meaningful without sacrificing what matters most. And sometimes, the hardest seasons are the ones God uses to prepare you for the very thing you have been praying for.